enjoying your night so far? Yes? Where's my husband? Is the camera on?
Yes.
Oh. Such a control freak. I know. Okay, so I wanted to thank you all for coming to our third thank you dinner for Vietnam veterans in the local Barnegat area. Now, who here has not been to any one of our events before, whether it be for the monument or for one of our thank you dinners? Raise your hands. Wow, okay, good. And so for all of you, and also for those of you who may need a refresher course, let me kind of give you a little bit of a background on who we are and why we're doing what we're doing. For those of you who don't know, my name is T. Cavanaro, and you wouldn't realize that I was Vietnamese if you saw my name in the newspaper or talked to me on the phone. But actually, if you talked to me on the phone, you probably think I was like an Italian dude. Because, you know, my first name is very short, like a guy. It's not elaborate like a girl, right? And my last name is Gavignano, so you would think that I was a girl, but a guy rather, an Italian guy. So actually at work, a lot of times when I have email correspondence, people are like, oh, this Italian guy is demanding all this blah, 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 blah. And then we get on a conference call, they're like, oh, it's a girl. And then they meet me in person, they're like, oh my gosh, she's Asian. So yeah. But anyway, so my name is T. Cavanaro. My maiden name was Quan Thi Nguyen. And Nguyen is one of the most common Vietnamese names there are out there. And I was born in Saigon. I was born in Saigon on Christmas Day, 1973. Yep, I'm a Christmas baby. I get completely gypped. Of all the presents, but that's okay. I don't really care about the presents. Actually, I have a rule in our house of no presents for my birthday. I really do, because I wanted to be focused on the kids and, you know, my nephews and nieces and stuff like that. But anyway, so I was born in Saigon in 1973, and me and my entire family were able to escape from Saigon and Vietnam from the communist rule when Saigon fell on April 30th, 1975. So if you do the math, I was not even fully 1.5 years old yet at the time. And I had only recently learned about the horrors and the injustices of the Vietnam War several years ago during the 40th anniversary. And when I learned about all of this, I felt compelled to make sure that I thanked all the Vietnam veterans, even more so than the regular veterans that I was running into and thanking, you know, because your group is the group that helped me and my family, first of all, stay alive in Vietnam, and secondly, be able to have a safe passage to America once staying in Vietnam was no longer a viable option. And in addition to helping us through that, you know, the reaction that you got from America when you came back home was shameful, right? It was a dark and quite honestly embarrassing part of American history. But unfortunately, fortunately, it's finally starting to come around where Vietnam veterans are getting the respect that you ultimately always deserved from decades ago. So, how does somebody like me, who doesn't even really remember personally her experiences from her home country, how does somebody like me get to a point where I devote so much time to honoring and appreciating Vietnam veterans? Well, after I learned about the Vietnam War from my parents during the 40th anniversary several years ago, I started making a point to thank all Vietnam veterans everywhere I went. It was kind of weird, quite honestly. honestly, because I would do things like, and talk to anybody who actually knows me. Like, if I put my head to doing something, I do it like to the, nth degree. I don't stop at just enough. I kind of take it over and beyond. And I wasn't just like I wasn't just looking for Vietnam veterans with the hats that would say, "Oh, Vietnam veteran." I would proudly display. I made a sign on the back of my car that said, "Welcome home, Vietnam veterans." And if that wasn't enough, if I saw a Vietnam veteran car driving by with a bumper sticker, I'd pull up alongside him and I'd be like, "Honk, honk, honk, honk." You know how weird that is? It's really, really weird, right? Especially when you're driving like 60 miles an hour and nobody's looking to see like what it is. They're like, "What is this crazy Asian girl doing, like honking at me?" So I would do things like that, but I didn't care because I was just like, you know what? It doesn't matter, because if somebody gets some sort of semblance that, oh, she was Asian, maybe she was Vietnamese, maybe she was just saying hi, whatever. As long as somebody got that from me, I felt better about doing it than not doing it. So I was doing this, and not just passing cars, but everywhere I went, people that I saw, like in a hotel, I'd be at a hotel, and I'd see a guy with a Vietnam veteran hat, and I go up to him, and I'm like, "I gotta give you a hug." And it's kind of weird, right? And yeah, because I see some people's faces here. It's kind of weird, but I would explain, and they would really appreciate it. And I would carry it through to online experiences as well. And everything was going well. Online, there was Facebook, and there were messages and posts about Vietnam veterans, and I was responding to those posts and saying how much I appreciated all of the things that Vietnam veterans as a collective group did. And there was one time where a friend of mine, his mom, had posted something about Vietnam veterans. And I chimed in and I was like, "I am a former Vietnamese refugee, and I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate Vietnam veterans and everything that they did to help me and my family, stay alive in Vietnam and then come over here in America afterwards." And one of my friend's mother's friends, who was a Vietnam veteran himself, he identified himself as a Vietnam veteran, and he said to me something that I will never ever forget and has changed my life forever. And he told me that he was a Vietnam veteran, and he told me that he was sorry that he didn't kill all of my ancestors first. So that was completely not what I expected, right? Completely not what I expected. And that actually forced me to look into the history of Vietnam veterans and why somebody would say something so horrible to somebody who was saying something that was so nice to begin with. And, my gut reaction was, I'm going to tell him off, and it's not right, and everything else. That was my first gut reaction. My second gut reaction was, I'm just going to walk away from this crazy person because I don't have anything to do with him. But then my third reaction, which was something that I thought about more, was, let's think about this. This is not normal. This is not a normal reaction. Why would somebody say this? So I looked into it more, and I realized that you Vietnam veterans really were put in such a horrible situation where you were thrust into a war that you didn't really understand the goal of, right? Why? Why are you helping this country thousands of miles away out of the blue? And then once you got there, you wanted to just show them all of the power that the U.S. military has, but yet you weren't even able to do that. And then, when you promised that you were going to be there till the very end, you were told, nope, get your butts back home. And you came back home, and you're like, okay, well, I made a promise, now I had to break it. And then your neighbors turned to you and called you horrible names. And then started even fights with you. And employers wouldn't even hire you. And instead of coming back with a badge of honor like every other veteran did before you and after you, you lived with a stigma for the rest of your life. So once I learned this, I was like, okay, you know what? If I was in this man's shoes, I probably may have this a knee-jerk reaction as well. So instead of attacking him, or instead of walking away from him, I decided that I wanted to give a message to him and to anybody else who may be reading this, because after all, it's Facebook and everybody can read it, right? And I responded to him and I told him that I was really, really sorry for all of the pain that he obviously went through, and that I couldn't change time, take it back, or change the experiences that he went through, probably losing friends at a really, really young age. I couldn't change any of that. But what I could let him know was that people like me, people who were Vietnamese, who didn't want to have communism as their way of life, really deeply appreciated everything that he, all of his friends, and all of you did to help us be able to survive and then start over in America today as successful and contributing citizens. So that's what I wrote to him. And after I wrote that, I talked to my husband, and I realized that if there is one man who feels this way, then surely there must be so many other Vietnam veterans who feel the same way. And so now it became even more important for me to try to reach as many Vietnam veterans as possible, to try to let them understand, to try to let you all understand how much we really appreciate everything that you did for us as a collective community, and for our entire country, to be able to defend our freedoms and democracy for a country that you've never even heard of before, when you guys were just kids. So from that experience, my husband and I created a movement. That's when it was born. That's when that movement was born, that's when it was created, and we called it Thanking Vietnam Veterans in Barnegat. And that movement has 4 goals. The first goal was to create a monument in our town of Barnegat that would quickly show all the Vietnam veterans in the area how much they were appreciated, specifically as Vietnam veterans. And not just the ones who died, because there's a lot of monuments who are just focused on the ones who have passed away. But we want to be able to honor the ones who are still with us and the ones who are still missing as well too. And that goal was reached last year, on the first National Vietnam Veterans War Memorial Day, Vietnam Veterans War Day, on March 29th, 2018. And we dedicated our monument then, and we unveiled it then. And we were able to convince our town of Barnegat to turn this into an annual ceremony. So every March 29th will turn into an annual event in the town of Barnegat to help honor all the Vietnam veterans in the area, or not even in the area, because we still have people, can you believe it or not? We still have people who come from like the Poconos and the Lehigh Valley down to Barnegat, our town of Barnegat, on March 29th, just because they tell us how welcomed they feel on that day. Even though their town may be doing something, it's just not the same feeling as they get when they're in Barnegat. So that was goal number 1 that we reached with our monument last year. Our goal number 2 is to be able to personalize how we feel about Vietnam veterans. And we want to do this through events like this, with dinners. We could have had, the American Legion is able to accommodate hundreds of people, and we could have had hundreds and hundreds of people come, but we didn't want it to be hundreds and hundreds of people. We didn't want it to be like a carnival type of atmosphere. We wanted to personalize our things, and we wanted to be able to talk to every single one of you on a one-to-one type of level, to let you really understand how truly grateful we felt. And so these were dinners. We were calling them thank you dinners. And this is something, both the monument and these dinners, my husband and I have been funding completely on our own. Because you know what? We just wanted to get it done. We didn't want to fundraise and all the hassles of fundraising. We knew this was something that was important, that needed needed to get done, so we did it. Because we're like, you know, we don't have to go on vacation. We live right by LBI, which is where everybody wants to go on vacation. We live right by here. So we set aside funds. And we just do this, knowing that every year we're going to have a dinner.
And we love you for it.
And we love you. So that's our second goal, to have these dinners. And we don't want to stop until we are able to get every single Vietnam veteran in Barnegat or the immediate surrounding area to come to one of these dinners and to feel as appreciated as I hope you guys are feeling tonight. Our third goal is to not just keep it in Barnegat, but to inspire other towns and countries all across, towns and cities all across the country to do the same thing. Because you know what? My husband and I can do it, and my husband and I, who are we? We're just two normal people who felt, yeah, this is something that really needs to get done. Let's do it. If we can do it, then other towns and cities all across the country can do the same thing. So our third goal is to spread what we're doing to other towns and countries, and it's started to work already. Because we have had two other towns, one in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Ocean City, New Jersey. They've already contacted us to let us know how they want to build their own Vietnam veteran memorials and how they're thinking about something along the lines of thank you dinners as well too. And our fourth goal, and this is so important because you can have a goal, an immediate goal, but then a long-range goal that can have longer lasting impacts, is to try to help the younger generations, the future generations, understand how important the Vietnam War was, how important the contributions you all made in the Vietnam War was. And to do that, we have interacted with several youth organizations within our town. Because if we don't spread our message and our understanding and our appreciation to our youth, then it's just going to disappear once our generation disappears. And some of those examples are right behind you in the back of the room over there. We have members of the junior ROTC, cadets from Barnegat High School here. And from Barnegat's Boy Scout Troop 26, we have Charlie Rollman in the back of the and for some of the cadets who have been to some of our presentations in their high school before, it's not me coming up with like this like boring slides and blah, 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 because that's all that they would hear if it was boring, right? I actually make it into an interactive presentation, and I talk about the escape of about the story of my escape from my family, and I apply it to them, and I make them go through similar situations. So who here from the group in the back has gone through one of our presentations? Raise your hands. Okay. Do you guys feel that it's been a good exercise in learning, like, and understanding how somebody like me went through in coming to America? Yes. And they're not just saying that because I fed them. So just like, you know, okay. So we do this, and we plan on continuing to doing this as well, and working with the Boy Scouts, and really passing along this message to the younger generations, because we don't want it to die when we go away. So those are our 4 goals. And we continue, like I said before, we continue on planning on trying to reach every single Vietnam veteran as possible in this immediate area, and inspiring others to do the same. Now, I hope you guys have been enjoying your time so far. I know it's some of you came a little earlier, so you're able to get a leg up on some of the food that's been in the back, and if you haven't gotten some of the Vietnamese food that's in the back, because you know what, we could have a dinner here with pasta and pizza and stuff like that, but it's not the same as if one were to include Vietnamese food, which is not as easily accessible, and especially Barnegat, right? So we drove all the way down to Pleasantville, which is by Atlantic City, and we got some food from a restaurant that my mom was able to give her seal of approval on, which is very, very hard to come by, right? So we have some signs back there with like 2 different rolls of Vietnamese food, you know, fried rolls and non-fried rolls, and we have signs that explain it. We have cadets who have been briefed on how to eat the Vietnamese food as well too. So if you haven't tried it, this is your chance to try it without feeling guilty. It's all there for the taking, okay? One thing I forgot to mention to everybody coming in is what we have up here on the easel is a map of Vietnam. And not just any map of Vietnam, but a map of Vietnam during the time of the Vietnam War. So the capital of South Vietnam is still called Saigon on this map, as opposed to Ho Chi Minh City, which is what it's called right now. And we have dry erase markers on here. So we would love it if you guys came up and looked to try to find where you were stationed, if you were stationed kind of around the area, and mark it with, you know, a circle and your initials or your name or something along those lines. It's always interesting to be able to see visually, right, where you may have been stationed. If you haven't noticed, you all got name tags. Every single one of you. Who here does not have a name tag? Anybody? Good, because there would be hell to pay if there was no name tag here. So you all have name tags, and the Vietnam veterans have their names underlined and bold to be able to designate whether or not you were a Vietnam veteran or a veteran of another war. We also appreciate. And we also included your basic military information because I think there's several people here who may not know each other who may have been in the same area. So take a look around, make it like a trivia type of thing. Take a look around and see whether or not there's somebody else who may have been in your area when you were there as well too. And, you know, what I want you all to take away from this is that I hope you feel a sense of community at tonight's event. Because, yes, I am the host. I was a Vietnamese, you know, a former Vietnamese refugee, and my husband is here supporting me. But there's other people here who are not Vietnamese former refugees or my husband, who are also here to support the event. And they're here because they're interested in everything about this event. And they're wanting to support everything about this event. And, you know, this event would not even be feasible without some of the partnerships that we have in the community. For example, we're here at the American Legion. Isn't this a beautiful hall, guys? So, as a representative of the American Legion, we have our commander, Mr. Hector Quinones. We'd like to say a few words.
My name is Hector Quinones. I am the post commander of Post 232. And I want to thank you all for coming out today. Welcome all our Vietnam veterans for attending this dinner. We are honored to have you all in attendance. Today we honor all those men and women that served our country during the Vietnam War. Not everyone who served inside Vietnam didn't leave the States, but it was no easy time to be in the military at that time. For most, there was no homecoming, no parades, no recognition of service, and no thank yous. But finally, Congress acknowledged the return of our troops. March 30th was declared Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. And I welcome all of you back home. She and her husband, Jimmy, has made sure you are not forgotten by hosting the 3rd Annual Vietnam Veterans Dinner here at our post. And I am very grateful for her and her husband support in continuing this event. I would also like to thank our Barnegat ROTC program for coming out today. And all of you, thank you very much. Welcome home.
the American Legion and Picture, they're not the only partnerships that we have in order to make all of our events successful. We also partner with the Barnegat Veterans of Foreign Wars, the VFW, and here to speak on behalf of the VFW is the Senior Vice Commander, Lenny Hemmerly.
Good evening, comrades and guests. Welcome home, comrades. My name is Lenny Hemmerly. I am Senior Vice Commander of the Barnegat Post, 10,092. If you don't mind, I would like to say a few words. I'm not going to talk about where I was or what I did in Vietnam, but about recognition, something none of us received when we returned home from Vietnam. If anything, we were looked down upon. Something I must say, though, this has changed in the last few years. I have two short stories that I would like to share with you in regard to this. A few years ago, we were doing our poppy drive at the Walmart in Manahawkin on Memorial Day. And out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a young boy, I guess around 9 or 10, walked over, reached into his pocket, and pulled out around $3 or $4 in coins and put it in our jar, shook my hand and thanked me for my service. This brought a tear to my eye. Another time, we were doing our poppy drive on Veterans Day at the same location, and a young woman who was in her early 20s walked over and said she was on her lunch break from where she worked in Forked River, and said she was looking for us. She put a $20 bill in a jar and thanked us for our service and left. The point of this being, our recognition is long overdue and is here now. And at this time, on behalf of the Barnegat VFW, I would like to thank T and her husband, Jim, for showing us their recognition and having this wonderful event of appreciation for us. If anything, I would like everybody to applaud them for doing this. I just have one more thing to say. Every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Barnegat Post, we have coffee and donuts. You don't have to be a member, and anybody can join us. And you get to meet a bunch of nice guys. Thank you.
And again, it's not just the American Legion and the VFW who have been able to contribute all of their resources to making all of our events really successful. We can't go by without thanking the Barnegat Navy Junior ROTC team. And here to speak on behalf of them is Chief Warrant Officer Jim Backey.
Thank you, T. First of all, about 5 minutes ago, when I walked in here, she said, "You're going to have a microphone." So, believe it or not, I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning with those cadets back there. We went to our first drill meet competition since the start of the Navy Junior ROTC 2 years ago here in at Barnegat High School. And so today was the first time many of these cadets in the back were on a drill deck at Cherokee High School, and I want to commend every one of you for getting up this morning at 5 o'clock, getting on that bus, and putting yourself out there. One of the things that, because none of them had ever, I know I'm sort of digressing, but it needs to be said. And it has to do with what you veterans of the Vietnam era did. And that was, believe it or not, in a different manner. We all take risks in life. And believe it or not, at a different level, getting on that bus today for the first time to ever compete with all these other schools it took a risk because the program is so new that none of them had ever done that before. So what I'm getting at is when you were just a few years older than those young cadets in the back there, you took that risk, whether you were drafted or whether you volunteered to go. And when I was much younger then, I was about 8 years old, and I think I told T over the phone when we first met, because I've only been at Barnegat High School as the ROTC instructor since last December. So the whole Barnegat community is fairly new to me, and I'll tell you, I've never met, and I'm from Brigantine, and they say that's, a place you'll love for life. You know what? This is even better. Barnegat's even better than So when I was young, I told T, I said when I was like, my first memories of the Vietnam War was as a young kid, and there was we lived in like an Archie Bunker house. Only we didn't have the first floor and second floor. We lived on the second floor, and downstairs was another family, and a single mom at the time who was widowed, and she had several children, and one of the daughters had married an Air Force, I guess an airman at the time, and he was sent over to Vietnam. And my first recollection is really the Vietnam War, besides hearing, seeing the things on TV and hearing the casualty report on the radio, was the cassette tapes that were sent home by Mac. His name was Mac Miller, and he was a fine young man, and Mac joined the Air Force. He volunteered, went over, and we always prayed for Mac, and luckily he did come home. But he didn't come home to, arousing, parades or things like that. But the thing that I do remember most were the ones that chose not to serve, to avoid the service. And you know what? Those were the ones and a lot of them lived on my block. There must have been about 50 houses on my block and about 100 kids back then. But the ones, the way they avoided service, and if you remember, I always felt that it was a true fight. It was a fight for liberty around the world. And communism was on the move. I know it sounds cliche, but it truly was. And during that period, you had China rising, you had the Soviet Union, rising, and South America was rising. Everything was rising, and you said we're not going to give up our freedom. And so that's how I always look at Vietnam veterans. I look at you as we're on the front line, and eventually, it was right because the Soviet Union did fall, and a lot of it had to do with what you did over there, and it basically changed the world. They say the greatest generation changed the world, back in World War II. But I say every person that puts on the uniform, no matter what generation they're from, they are part of their best of their generation. So I know I'm sort of rambling on, and the cadets can tell you that's what I love to do, right, cadets? But luckily there's videos, we can always slap in the machine when they're tired of hearing me talk. But I just want to thank T and Jimmy. T has now made it an annual pilgrimage, every March to come to our class. And we look forward. We have actually 45 new cadets this year. 2 years ago, there were about 30? What'd you start off with, Fish?
Like 30, no, like 35?
30 for the first year?
Yeah.
Okay, 35.
So 45 new ones to torture.
No, and then last year when I reported the board, there were about 53. And then lo and behold, we had a great recruiting drive with the help of the cadets over there, over at Brackman. And believe it or not, 70 new cadets signed up, but only 45 were willing to take that risk. Believe it or not, even just joining the junior ROTC is a risk. Because you know what? Just wearing that uniform, a lot of these young kids, they look at that uniform as something that sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but they look down upon it still. Believe it or not, a lot of the youth do. So it takes a lot of guts just to join that program. And I tell them though, but you're given a great gift, to wear that uniform because people like yourselves, you had to swear an oath that you were willing to wear, to give your life in order to wear that uniform, and that uniform that they wear, that is an honor and a privilege, and they should they should always wear it properly and always respect it because other people have given their lives to wear that same exact uniform. So anyhow, you probably heard enough of me, and thank you. And can't wait to hear your story. Thank you so much. And thank you, Bill.
We wouldn't be able to do all the things that we do without the partnerships of all of these organizations, from the American Legion, to the VFW, to the Barnegat Navy Junior ROTC team, to the Barnegat Boy Scouts as well, with Charlie representing us and Mac over there as well too. But as a reminder, it's not about me or the Legion or the VFW or the Junior ROTC or the Boy Scouts. It's about you guys. We all came here tonight because we were interested in you and we wanted to support you. And this event is all about you, our Vietnam veterans. So, please allow me to say the names of all of our Vietnam veterans in our hall tonight, one by one in alphabetical order. And when I do say your name, please come join me up here in the front and stay up here with me so that we can all take a group picture afterwards, okay? So I am going to start off with Vietnam veteran Jim Aledo. Where is Jim? Is Jim hiding under the table? No, there he is. Jim, come on. I feel like the price is right with you right now. Calm down. Jim, thank you very much for everything. Thank you. Okay. Next Vietnam veteran is Mr. Ed Barry. Where's Ed?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oops, this is the best part. It is. Next Vietnam veteran is Mr. Barry Burlew. Barry. There he is. Barry has been preparing this hall to sing and span for what it looks like right now. From shampooing the carpets to washing down the tables. Thank you so much, Barry. Thank you. And next we have Tony Buscema. Where is Tony? There is Tony. Thank you so much. Oops. I know, I need to hold on to this a little bit. Yeah, it's me. Joe Carrier is up next. Where's Joe? There's Joe. You guys can clap for Joe real quick. Thank you so much for coming, Joe. And Joe has been able to recruit so many more people to be able to for his efforts with this. Okay, Tony Carroll. Tony, don't hide. There he is. You have won a grand prize. Thank you so much. Thank you. And next we have John DeWitt. John DeWitt. Who, okay, I am going to tattletale on John and tell you guys how, out of the blue, he came up to me and Jimmy, my husband, and he said, oh, by the way, I have a little something for you. Not that we expected, because we've got flowers and we've got other books and frames and everything else. We really, I seriously am mad at anyone who brought stuff here, wives included, because this is supposed to be about you guys, not about us at all. But, John came up and he was just like, by the way, we have something for you, and it was when I stayed in a village in Vietnam, and I was given a flag of the South Vietnamese country from that village, and I've kept it all these years, and I don't have any kids, and you're the closest thing to us being able to give it to somebody who could appreciate that. So he made me cry, ruined my makeup, and I had to go to the bathroom, so thank you. Thank you very much, John, for that. Next we have, okay, this name, I've had to practice several times. Vito Demianiak. Vito. Wow! Demianiak. It's so hard to pronounce Joel's nicknames. Thank you so much, Vito. Okay. Next we have Duke Dorachek. Where is Duke? Thank you for coming. Okay, this is an easy one. Jerry Foster. Thank you so much. And then, this is kind of hard, but I think I got it. Dave Franz. Dave, there he is. In these types of events, right? I mean, a lot of them are German, right? What's the origin of your last name? German and French, there you go. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you. And then we have, this is another easy one, Gerald Geary, yes. Gerald Geary. Gerald! Thank you so much. Thank you. And then we have Jack Grogan, who saw our sign, just driving by and said, oh my gosh, and Ryan Hagel. Ryan, come on out. Okay, and also, like I mentioned before, our Senior Vice Commander for the VFW, Mr. Lenny Hemmerly. And then we have Bud Jancy. Where's Bud? He went home. What? He went home. All right, we're just gonna have to document his drink. I will take it. Okay. And then next we have Mr. Mike Langella, or as he likes to be referred to be called, Lovey. And then we have Tom Naples, not of the pizza, next we have Phil O'Cone. Where's Phil? There he is. Thank you. And then next we have Bob Morrow. Bob, there he is. Thank you so much. Thank you. And next we have Paul Shell. Where's Paul? There he is. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, up next is Bill Zansky. Bill? Where's Bill? There he is. Okay, Ed Starr with 2 A's in his star. Thank you. Okay, then we have Dan Struch. Where's Dan? Yes, thank you so much, Dan. Dan has been extremely helpful in getting us so many people to come to be able to come tonight as well too. And finally, last but not least at all, we have Sid Weinstein. I'm sorry, I wrote his name down and I skipped it again. Frank Lewicki is also going to be joining us here. Frank, get your name here. Thank you so much, Frank. So guys, this night is all about you. All about you. Everything that you did individually, as a group, just mentally and physically, everything that you did to help people like me and my family come over here and start over again as proud American citizens. And we can't tell you how grateful we are for everything that you've done. So how about a nice big round of applause?